behalf of your BBB, I'd like to welcome you to our Affinity webinar this morning, and I'm so pleased to have Global Payments hosting this event. And we have Debbie Dandeneau with us this morning. Debbie's been with Global Payments in the role of branch relationship representative for 13 years. Previous to working with Global Payments, Debbie worked as corporate accounts and purchasing for Cisco, Winnipeg, and national food and restaurant supplier. So before we get started, I just had a few housekeeping items I'd like to cover. As you heard when we started the webinar, all attendees are in listen-only mode. We do have a question functionality on this webinar. It's located on your dashboard on the right-hand side of your screen. You can add any of those questions that you may have, and we'll have Debbie answer those at the conclusion of her presentation. We also have 2 handouts available for you to download today if you're interested. We have one regarding the Affinity program, as well as one specific to some specials that Global Payment has for our accredited businesses. The presentation is planned to be between 20 and 30 minutes. We will have some questions afterwards. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube following the webinar for reference or anyone that is unable to join us this morning. So with that, I'll hand you over to Debbie to get started.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to quote-unquote meet you. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about Global Payments. I hope you can all see my screen here. So I'm just going to go to sort of a, okay, now my screen's not moving. Bear with me. Let's see if that's going to go. There we go. Okay, so this is our agenda screen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Global Payments actually is. I'm going to talk about what we call our product and service overview, some specific items, and then some differentiated offerings, some things that we've got in the industry that maybe our competitors don't. And then what we've done is we have come out with a specific offer that's specifically for BBB accredited businesses. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about that. Some service commitments, and then local contact persons, and that's me, and how to get a hold of me, that sort of thing. So the first couple of slides are sort of a little bit more generic, a little bit of an overview, a little bit about who Global Payments is. So there's some stats here. We've got about 8,500 employees internationally. In Canada, we've probably got about 300 or so. There's just some numbers here. I'm not going to read everything here, but you can just quickly eyeball that if you want. And on this slide here, we are international. We've got about 30 countries around the world. So we've got a lot of different types of products that what we've been able to do is we've been able to sort of pick the best of the best. So right now we're taking over a product that's going to be, it's been quite successful in England, and we're going to be hopefully launching it in the spring. So we're taking, like I say, the best of the best, and we're kind of combining it to make one nice big company. So specifically here in Canada, we've been in Canada for over 15 years. And this sort of just tells you a little bit of just some general stuff. So it says our people are important. Seasoned team, as Marion mentioned, I've been with the company now for 13 years, so I do know it inside and out. Our relationships and world presence are beneficial to the Better Businesses Bureau's accredited businesses. I mean, we've got the expertise, we've got different types of products for all the different types of industries. Communication and transparency, that is key, because in the past, some of the companies that were doing credit card services and merchant services have been very vague. You've seen some of the statements, and you cannot figure out your statements. What we try to do is we try to have our, first of all, when we do the paperwork and our contract, all the information is there, and transparency on our statements so that it's clear that you can understand exactly what you're being billed for. Responsive and supportive access to information, whether it be your statements, whether it be your customer care, we are there for you. Regional offices across Canada. I'm Winnipeg based, so you guys are Manitoba, Northwestern Ontario, so I'm local. We are a publicly traded company, if that's something that you guys are following. Bank neutral. So basically what that's telling you is that we can deposit into any bank or credit union for your merchant services account. You don't have to be banking specifically in one particular location, so you don't need to change your banking. We focus on small business. My role is actually small business clients, so that would probably be right in your line. And then we do have a very large product offering. We probably work with 2 of the terminal companies. A lot of our competitors only work with one. So what we can basically do is we can sort of play one off the other for best terminal pricing and that sort of thing. Interspecific solutions. As I go through the products, I'll sort of talk a little bit about that, and then the bottom, critical system security, reliability, and back office expertise. Basically, with providing credit card information. Everything's got to be secure data-wise and everything like that. So we've got to make sure that our backends are going to work for all that. So number 2, our product and service overview. I'm not going to read this whole screen here, but basically what it sort of says is that we've been the first in the industry for a few things. So I'm just going to sort of touch base on a couple. The first one being we are the first one to offer full service acquiring for American Express small business merchants. It's a product called OptBlue. Bottom line, it's American Express for you guys. The only thing is that it's not having to go direct through American Express. It's all being done through the one contract and the one set of paperwork. There's some union pay, some other things, and then I'm probably just going to drop down to the second last on the bottom. We're the first to offer a semi-integrated POS system in Canada, which is probably something that a small business would be looking for, and again, I'll get more into the specifics a little bit later. Some of the other ones are very specific terminals and that sort of thing, so if you want, you can read those, but I'm not going to go into the specifics there, but just to let you know that we are an innovator in the industry. So we support all card types. So basically, I mean, you can go out shopping and you've probably seen businesses, oh, they'll only do debit or they'll only do Visa, MasterCard, debit. Ideally, it's nice to be able to offer your clients the options for whatever kind of card they're going to pull out of their wallet. So that's what we do, is we've got the option for you to take all the cards. You can see the different logos that there are. So what we've done to make it very easy for you is there's one contract that you need to fill out. You'll get all of the card types will be shown on the one statement. It's one deposit into your bank account, no separate deposits, and one point of contact. So you've got our one help desk. You don't need to call different companies for all of that. So more specifically in the products, so there's what we call standalone. So when you go shopping, everybody's familiar with a terminal. You can see the picture of the terminal. So there's stationary terminals for if you're, let's say, retail, you don't need to move the terminal about, it stays on a counter. There's also cordless and wireless. Cordless would be if, let's say, you're a restaurant and you need to be able to walk from one end of the restaurant table to table, you might want to go out to the patio, you might want to go into the lounge area. Or I find a lot of medical clinics now are having a cordless terminal because they want the privacy for their patients, so they actually take the terminal into the room. Or sometimes it's just your internet connection is way back in the office and your service desk that you're dealing with your clients are up front. You need something to be able to reach from the back to the front. The long-range wireless is something where you would want to be able to cross a city. So something like your pizza delivery guys, they travel from one end of the city to the other. If you're doing trade shows, you can go from coast to coast. It works off the cell phone lines. Integrated, so there's integrated and there's semi-integrated. And basically what that means is that depending on the industry that you're in, you will buy specific software for your industry. So for example, if you're a grocery store, you'll have grocery store things. You'll have an inventory that'll be up and down. You'll adjust it. I'm working on one right now. It's a car wash, and you drive into the bay, you insert your credit card, and you come into the bay and you can select your minutes and all that sort of thing. So that's all done through a software program, but it needs to integrate through global payments. So there's what they call fully integrated and semi-integrated. Semi-integrated is nice because you're not paying the full cost of some of the integrations, and you still have the benefits of integrated, meaning the cash register, when you actually tally up the total, will speak to the debit machine. So when it comes through and it totals your, whatever it is that you're selling, totals it to, let's say, $50, it sends that information straight to the PIN pad. You don't have to manually punch it in the way you would with those standalone terminals. Mobile offerings, so nowadays that's using your cell phone to take payments. It's a little unit. It's about the size of an old-fashioned calculator, and it connects via Bluetooth to your cell phone. It is meant for small businesses not doing a lot of transactions. So I wouldn't recommend it, let's say, for that pizza delivery guy that's going out. But if you're a home contractor or somebody that might do, a handful of transactions a day, I would say maximum 10 to 20 transactions a day. It's a small unit. It doesn't have the full battery power that a full wireless does. But again, depending on the type of industry that you've got, it works quite well. E-commerce, that would be if you might have a retail store, or you just decide to say, okay, well, you know what, we need to get in and start selling online, because you hear everywhere on the radio. I mean, when the specs came out after Christmas, online shopping is becoming larger and larger every year. So nowadays people want to go online and sell their products. So whether you're selling you're an author and you're selling one book, or whether you're a retail store and you have 1,000 products, there's a system there for you. I do a lot of nonprofit organizations as well. So if you're taking sports registrations or something like that, where parents are registering, or you're just taking donations for fundraisers, or like I say, you're selling a product, we can do it either large or small. We've got some specialty types of products. So there's a picture of a car here. So oil and gas is a very specific industry. They have different requirements for their terminals, and sometimes security when you look at pay at the pump. Gift and loyalty. I think everybody's familiar with gift cards now. The industry is definitely changing, and there's a lot more gift cards. Loyalty is more along the lines if you're going to have a marketing program. So, for example, buy 10 pizzas, get one free, buy 10 coffees, get one free, that sort of thing. Value adds. So that's different types of products that we have that will either be added to your terminal or added to the program, or just a different type of product. So, for example, we've got something called home currency. So if you're in the travel or tourist industry where you have a lot of tourists, it can actually detect to say, okay, you know what, this is not a Canadian card, it's a foreign card. We're going to offer that client, do you want to pay in Canadian dollars or in whatever their home currency is? We have got what we call a virtual terminal, so that even though you may not see your customers, you want to be able to take credit cards online, or you want to do recurring billing, something like that would be in there. And merchant tools, that would be our specific reporting tools. So this next screen is gift and loyalty. So depending on what you've got, what type of system you may or may not have, some of them are integrated. So for example, you'll see Eigen there. Eigen is integrated to a lot of software programs. Accrue, GiveX, and Data Candy are more what we call standalone. So all of them will offer different kinds of gift card programs. Some are much more elaborate, some are a little bit smaller, and depending on the size of the business that you've got and what you're looking for in a gift card will sort of depend on where I might want to forward you. Virtual Next is also a mobile gift card. Lukova is something that's very, very different. It's coming out with the latest in technology, and it's using apps. So what you would be doing in that case is you would have the ability to put credit card information into your phone. You have an app as a customer, and you're going to deal with a certain business. So let's just say a coffee shop. So the coffee shop has the app, and the customers do. So when a customer is within Wi-Fi range of the coffee shop can send out little notifications, say, for today only, if you buy a coffee and a muffin, you get a free coffee, or whatever it might be. But it also works the other way as well. So it can say, okay, you know what, I'm leaving home. It takes me 10 minutes to get to my coffee shop, which is just outside my office where I go to work. So I'm going to put the order in now, and I'm going to order a coffee, I'm going to order a bagel, and I've got my credit card information programmed into my phone, so it charges my credit card immediately. It sends the order to the coffee shop, so when I get to the coffee shop, I walk in, I pick up my order, say thank you very much, and I go. So technology is really changing, and especially with the younger generations and the apps and that sort of thing, that's kind of the way the market is heading this way. So it's a little bit different. Now, sort of on the after the fact, after you've been processing your credit card transactions at the end of the month, we take our fees out, and you want to know what your fees are, but you also might want to check to see what you've got for transactions. What have I been doing for the month? So we've got some options for you. So Business View is an online system that you've got 24-hour access. If you've got multiple locations, you can see all locations on there. You can see, like I say, the transactions, your settlements. You can go in there and you can run reports. On the terminals themselves, in the POS terminals, you will have transactions that come off at the end of every transaction, and then you will have your daily settlement there as well as an automatic thing, but then you can actually go into the menu and you can run additional menus. So, for example, if you were a restaurant and you wanted to track by server, or you want to track by tips or something like that, you can run those sort of things. Statement Advantage, that's basically where we mail you a statement at the end of the month. Our statements do include American Express. In the past, American Express has been always separate, and here with our new OptBlue program, it is included here within it. Smart Dispute Manager, this is meant for businesses that get a lot of chargebacks or retrieval. So basically a chargeback or retrieval is when somebody goes back to Visa or MasterCard and says, I'm not happy with this transaction wasn't mine, or whatever it is that they've gone back to Visa for. Visa needs to research it, so it comes back to you. there's an online system that you can actually use now that you can electronically send that information back into Visa or MasterCard. In the past, it has been probably about a 30-day response that you have to reply to them within 30 days, and it's always been via mail. So we're getting in with the latest technology. And lastly, electronic statements. So people are trying to be a little bit on the greener side. They want to get their statements electronically, so they can come into our system, they can pull their statements, and they can go back almost just actually over 2 years for statements. And come tax time, that's really handy because I used to get phone calls all the time saying, I'm missing my November statement. Here you can go back, you can print up your November statement, submit it to your accountant, and use it for tax purposes. Now this screen is specifically a little bit of information on Business View. I kind of talked a little bit about it. It does give you basically quick access to it. I'm going to flip over to another screen. That is what the dashboard looks like, and everyone is going to want different access and that sort of thing. So this doesn't give you a full representation of what you might have, but depending on what you want. So it's probably a little bit tiny, but it'll say, you know, settlement totals. There's disputes if you've got any disputes. You can take a look and you can run reports, and you can say, okay, well, what time frame do I want? Do I want the last week? Do I want the last month? So it gives you the ability to manage your business, and most of these reports too can also be exported out so that if you want to record them in your system, you can do so. So differentiated offerings. So before I do this, I've got a little poll that I've got for you. So I'm going to see if I can select one right here. And it's specifically on American Express. So, okay. Now, can everybody see that there? I hope so. So it says the poll is open, so I'll give you guys a few minutes, and it's just some questions about, American Express, that sort of thing. So I'll let you take some time and do that. So yeah, so just remember, if you're saying you do not, we do accept American Express, that's good. And if you don't, if you can just give me a reason as to why you don't. We've almost got it. We're at 88% voting, so we'll just wait for the last couple. Okay, maybe I'll just leave it there. Okay, so I'm just taking a look at the responses. And what I'd say, there's almost half of you do accept American Express, so that is great. And then the other half is basically split between it's too expensive and there's too much paperwork. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that, go back to there. And so now you should see my OptBlue screen. So I'm going to address those. So funny, but the first point was it was too expensive. Now with the OptBlue, it's now more competitive pricing. So traditionally in the past, American Express has had different rates for different types of industries. So it would range from about 2.95% if you were in the auto repair or if you were in the medical fields, up to about 3.5%, which would be your standard retail. Restaurants were kind of a little bit in between. What merchants were finding is that that was very, very high. And they were saying, well, you know what, I don't want to take American Express. It takes too long for the money to get in my account, and it's too expensive. Those are sort of some of the two reasons. The other thing that mentioned on there is that it's too much paperwork, in the sense that, yes, you had to go to American Express. You would get an American Express merchant account. Then you would have to go back, and you would also have to get a Visa, MasterCard, and debit one. At the end of the month, there would be 2 sets of statements that would come through, and again, it was a lot of paperwork, especially for the accountant, because they were reconciling today for Visa, MasterCard from yesterday, and then 2-3 days down the road, they've got to reconcile again for American Express. So now everything is now completely streamlined. So where the rates come through for American Express is that now they are definitely less than 2%, and what I'll do, it's going to actually work out for you guys, it's going to be 1.85%. And it's so much better than if you had something at the 3.5%. And now when it comes to things like paperwork, when we're doing the paperwork for the contract, we check off Visa, we check off MasterCard, we check off Interact, and American Express as well. and it is deposited into your bank account at the same time as your Visa and MasterCard. So no longer is there that 3-day delay. So it's really a key feature. We've had it now for probably about a year, and merchants really like it. Now, if you've been in the industry and you know about some of the different, if you want to call them non-qualified, hidden fees, whatever, when you take a more expensive card, for example, a Visa Infinite card or anything that's manually keyed, you pay a surcharge. American Express does not have that as much. The only time you'll start paying surcharges for American Express is if the transaction is either $200 or $500 or higher, and that's, again, depending on your industry. $200 if you're a restaurant, $500 if you're basically any other industry. So it is a lot more attractive now, and it could actually work out to be less expensive than the Visas and the MasterCards. So here's some different value-added products that we've had, and I sort of talked a little bit before about the home currency. Basically, you'll have, some people call dynamic currency conversion, but again, if you've got a tourist and they're from Europe, the terminal reads the card and it says, okay, this is a European card. Do you want to pay in Canadian dollars or do you want to pay in euros? What it does is it makes the customer feel very comfortable as to how they're paying. And as a merchant, rather than having Visa and MasterCard on the credit card when the client finally gets their card, having to pay that 2.5%, a small portion of it goes back to the business instead. So you're never going to get rich by it, but at least there's something there. Union Pay, it's a card out of China. Really in the prairies here, we don't see it that much, but I do see a little bit of it around the university where there's a lot larger Asian population, so we will deal with that there. Rigger, oil and gas terminal, they've got specific customization. They need to put the number of liters, the price per liter. They also accept fleet cards, so we have a special terminal for them. Multi-merchant is something where if you're, let's say, a hair salon or a doctor's office, basically a business where you've got multiple businesses working out of one location, and they'll share a terminal. So rather than having 4 terminals lined up against the back counter, you can have multiple businesses using the same terminal. They can all have different bank accounts. At the end of the day, when they close their sales, their money each goes into their bank accounts, and nobody is having to fight at the end of the day trying to figure out how am I going to fund, all these different people, how do I know which ones are their sales, how do I break down the fees? It's all done for them there. SecuNet, that's the same sort of idea as the example that I had given with the coffee shop. In this case, it's meant for parking. So you've got a parking app on your phone, you pay for it on your phone, and you enter your parking spot. I've seen that downtown, and it's starting to become a little bit more common. POS tablet in a box, that is a product that we've got. If you're a small business and you're wanting to sort of go into the software, you want to go for the integrations, but all of a sudden you start pricing out the integrations and you go, oh my goodness, they're starting at $10,000, $20,000 depending on what type of business it is and how many locations you've got. This is a product, Cluster Systems is who kind of runs it in the background for us, but it's a good way to sort of get yourself integrated with a much lower cost. So it basically comes with all the products there with the exception of the router, and it's got the cash box, a printer, and then the screen. So if you're retail, it'll hold your inventory. As you sell your inventory will decrease, and as you add it back in, it'll go back up again. Where it's really key is in the restaurant business, because you can actually put your floor plan, if you want to say, on there. You get a reservation for 6. You can take a table of 4. You can drag a table of 2 over. You can now have your table of 6. You can enter in your menu items. It can send the order to the kitchen. The kitchen sends it back. When it comes to billing, they can total it as one big bill, or if they want it split up, you can do that as well. So it's a much cheaper process. You're probably looking there around the probably $2,500 mark as opposed to the big ticket items I was mentioning. So offers to the accredited businesses. These are some of the very specific rates that we have come up with for the Better Business Bureau. Visa, MasterCard, 1.45%, 1.55%, both of them with assessment fees of 12 basis points. Assessment fees have been used in the industry in the past for the research and development of digital chip. Now it's used more for marketing. Interact, everybody's familiar with that, works out to 5.8 cents a transaction. It's broken into 2 fees, but 5.8 cents is what it works out to be. And then the American Express OptBlue that I had talked about before with the 1.85%. So And then our service commitment, just slowly wrapping things up. We do have our customer care center. They are there 24/7. We speak something like 25, 26 different languages there, so feel free to use whatever you're comfortable with. We even have a separate toll-free number for our Chinese and Mandarin-speaking clients. We've got what we call a merchant engagement team. So when you're brand new to us, we will actually have our training team touch base with you and get you up and running. We've got pre and post implementation support. We've got on-site service. We've got a couple options. We can have next day courier, or we can have same day within 4 hours, depending on which way you want to go. We've got dedicated reps. I would be a relationship rep, and then once you get set up, you will also have a service rep to look after you. And then the account management and business tools, which is what I was explaining before about the different statement options. Now, our merchant engagement team, I wanted to talk quickly about that because what it is, they will actually check to make sure that your terminal is out and about. They'll give you complete training, they'll set you up, and then they will actually do a follow-up just to confirm that you're getting the deposits into the bank account, and they'll do a little survey afterwards to make sure that everything's going right. So I'm finding the merchants really like it. When we first started, we were doing random merchants, and now we're doing just about all our merchants because it's been going over so well, and it gets clients up and running. And if you've been using the systems before, it's just a matter of saying, okay, great, we've got this one up and going. If you've never used it before, we go right from ground level and start training you. This screen, it's just sort of some, what clients have to say about us. I'm not going to read all these, just sort of some little comments here and there. And Global Payments reps, basically what we're going to do is we're going to work with the BBB team. If you're in contact with them, you contact them, and then they'll forward you over to me. Because they're already on the call, you can just contact me directly, and what we'll do is I'll review your business and try and find the right product for you and that sort of thing. I'll explain the options and the pricing, and we'll take it from there. I put the application in. I do keep you posted throughout because we do a credit application. I kind of give you notifications saying your terminal's coming out, all that sort of thing, and I'm there for you. So don't hesitate. That's what we're there for. Onboarding process. So basically, once the BBB sends you over to me or you contact me directly, we'll review everything. Once I have a completed application, I have it in the system usually within a day. Credit adjudication takes a couple of days. We program the terminal, we ship it off to you, and there is a rush process. So the regular procedure is probably about a week and a half. If you want to rush, it basically cuts itself in half. I think I'm running tight for time, so I'm just going to, why choose Global Payments? I'm just going to key in on the one that says direct acquirer. We are a direct acquirer in the sense that we deal directly with Visa, MasterCard. There are companies out there that are what we call independent sales organizations, and they're middlemen out there, and then you're dealing with a third party. So with us, it's direct. And lastly, that is it. Thank you. And I've got my contact information there. I'm not sure if we've got a few minutes for questions. I kind of went a little bit longer there. Do we have any questions, Barry?
No, not at this time. So I would like to thank Debbie for her presentation today. And if anybody does have any questions, we do have a question functionality, as I mentioned, on the right-hand side. You can type in your questions, and we'd be happy to answer those. If you'd prefer to handle those questions independently with Debbie, if you have some questions on whether or not it would be a fit for your company, or you had some questions about the different functionality, you can contact Debbie directly.
Yep. And I have got brochures on all the products. I wasn't going to put them all on here, but if you've got a specific product that you're looking for, let me know, and I can send you information on that as well.
Great, great. So I just
Oh, I don't know whether we got cut off or the call's over. So I think, anyway, if anybody can hear me, I believe the call might be ended. But if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to call me directly, or if you want to call Marion and she can get you in touch with me, that's not a problem. Thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.
Into IT. Based in Winnipeg, Evident IT provides technical support services for a strategic partner in growing businesses. Their understanding on how technology can affect your bottom line and growth is crucial to their success with local businesses, large and small. So be sure and watch for that registration link for this webinar early in February. Thank you very much for your attendance today, and thank you, Debbie, for sharing global payments with us.
No problem. Thank you.